Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Nickel Sickle. Look at me, I'm already feeling it from last night
So
still.
frazzled from yesterday.
Nickel City Mafia special show tonight. We're going to be doing a post-game show, Patriots and the Bills, and then we're going to flip it and talk about the upcoming Bucks game that we got going on this Sunday. And we're doing that because, Jake, my co-host, you're going away for a little bit, right? You're going to some nice weather. Tell the folks where you're going, man.
Yeah, some nice weather, Mike. It's snowing here in Buffalo. It was literally whiteout conditions about 2 hours ago at my house, at least.
Ooh.
And I am going to Key West, so I'm getting the heck out of here. And I was actually going to I was this close to buying tickets to the Buccaneers game. It's still like a 6-hour drive from Key West to Tampa, but
Wow.
I was very close to going to that Sunday game. But we are flying out on Sunday, unfortunately, so I won't be able to make it for our pregame show time that we normally would do it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. It makes the loss yesterday a little less hurtful, the fact that I'm leaving Buffalo right now. But it's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight, and we're going to get into all the details. And but before we do, let's remind the people about this great giveaway that we got going on. It is for a $500 Fanatics gift card. There it is in a beautiful little box there.
Beautiful.
That's going to be shipped out to whoever wins this beauty. We end this contest on the 19th, which is the week before Christmas, and we will send it overnight so that whoever wins this, it could be a gift for yourself, or you can re-gift this to that special person in your life. Now, this gift card would not be possible without the kind folks over at Auto, spelled O-R-T-O. They came to us. They said, hey, we like your show. We want to sponsor your next giveaway. So we're very appreciative that they're doing this for us. Jake, we've almost tripled the number of users entered in this giveaway from our first giveaway on the Josh Allen helmet. It's just amazing. Lots of great stories, holiday stories, and I'm going to share more on our next show. I could go on and on about some of these stories. It's just so, I told you yesterday, I was messaging
some tearjerkers.
Some tearjerkers. I mean, I wish I could just give every one of these folks a gift card like this. And sometimes I'm like, man, maybe I'll reach out to this person and see if I can help them out in some way.
Yeah.
But anyhow, great stories going on. And again, all you got to do is click the link. It's in the description. You put in your name, your email, your date of birth. It's not required, so you don't have to put that in. You do have to be 18, and you tell us what is one of your favorite holiday memories, and you're into the giveaway. So before we get into our show, let's have a quick message about our sponsor for this giveaway and their amazing application. We'll be right back in 30 seconds.
40% of the cars on the road hold a hidden history. With the Auto app, you simply photograph any car, and using our AI license plate recognition technology, you'll instantly have accident, sales, and owner data from multiple sources at your fingertips. If you work in the car industry or are simply buying a used car, use Auto to get the full picture. Search Auto, spelled O-R-T-O, on the App Store.
So there you have it. Cool application. You can download it on your Android or your Apple device. If you're in the market for a used car or you're in the auto industry, you're going to want to check this app out. It's free to try, so I highly recommend you give it a shot. And all you got to do, go to one of your cars, download it, take a picture of your license plate, and you'll be amazed at all the information you get. So thanks again for the folks over there at Auto, spelled O-R-T-O. Make sure you download their app. And that's one of the actions, actually, Jake, in our giveaway. You download their app and you get 5 additional entries just for doing that.
That's awesome. That's a no-brainer in my opinion.
I know, right? We got Chris out there. There he is.
Baby, here we go, Chris.
Love that
we were just talking about you.
Yeah, we were just talking about how you predicted I think the score was 28-10 you predicted, or 24-10. We were kind of shocked that you said 10 and you hit the 10 right on the button. But I got to say, towards the end of that game, I was thinking I was going to hit it because I had predicted Buffalo 17-14. Anyhow, great to see you out there, Chris. Kevin, great to see you out there. Kevin was the guy who told me to go pick up Sony Michel.
Yeah.
Remember that advice?
Yes, I do.
Well,
I'm going to cheers you to that.
I immediately checked, and he was not available, but the guy goes off. So, Kevin, man, you nailed it.
Fantastic, man. Fantasy wizard over here.
Oh, I'll tell you, I'm going to probably reach out to him for some more information because it's getting down to playoff time. Anyhow, Lots to talk about, Jake. I mean, big disappointment last night. So I'm going to throw it over to you. When we had the Indy game, I think I got a lot off my chest. I'm going to throw it to you to start things off. And by the way, let's preface this real quick for those, and because we have some Pats fans who might join us. First of all, kudos to you and your team. Your team was the better team. They are the better team as of last night. They overpowered us. They deserve the win. There's no excuses. Now you're going to have to hear a lot of Buffalo, us guys, talk about reasons why what we may have done to change the outcome of that game. But respect to you guys, and you deserve the win based on how you played. You came in with a game plan and you executed it perfectly. So let's just preface that. Let's get that out of the way. All right, Jake, over to you, my friend.
I'm going to echo that. I mean, hats off to them. Bill Belichick is notorious for setting a game plan and sticking to that game plan until all else fails. And they stuck to it. I mean, they threw 3 passes yesterday, 2 for 3. And it was the lowest amount of passes since 1974 with our guy, Joe Ferguson, with the Bills. I mean, that's just incredible. It's like we were playing 1920s football if you really look at it. I don't even know. What was it, 47 times or something like that? They ran the ball on us. It was just an absolute bloodbath from the start of the whistle to the end of the game. It was just absolutely insane what they did to us on the ground. They absolutely ate us up. They out-physicaled us. They out-coached us. They 100% outplayed us. Mike, I'm a little fired up. I'll be honest with you. I'm still, now you're bringing these emotions back up with me. I had the whole day to just settle, just stew in my feelings, and now I got to just bring it all back out here. So
let it all out, man. That's what we're here for.
Yes. This is essentially therapy, if you think of it. I am so flustered with the amount of conservative play calls that happened yesterday. I mean, it really started with, the second we scored a touchdown and then we opted to go for an extra point, you knew right then and there that this is going to be an issue. And it was. I mean, you saw it right from the get-go. Just the lack of aggressiveness, the conservative play calls, the abandoning your game plan when something was working, you would immediately, so we were moving the ball downfield. When we would go up tempo, we were moving the ball down the field. Josh honestly threw the ball extremely well in the wind. I thought he played actually a hell of a game considering the elements. There were a couple plays where maybe you could say that's his fault, but outside of that, I thought he did fantastic. And for once, it's not the quarterback we're concerned with. I think it's the coaching. I think it's the running backs, and I think it's both sides of the ball on the line. And let me tell you, Mike, it is very concerning. I don't want to put a fork in us right now. I'm not going to be one of those knee-jerk reaction guys. We're in trouble. This Tampa game right here is enormous. And let me tell you, I mean, we have to have full amnesia and go into Tampa and be aggressive and start firing. I wouldn't mind if we threw the ball every single play against Tampa. They have a banged-up secondary as it is. We need to take full advantage of that. And I'll tell you this, too. I mean, there were multiple opportunities yesterday in 40-mile-per-hour winds to throw the football and to maybe win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. That's how good we were at throwing the football in those elements. We just didn't execute. We had a few big drops. The one was by Dawson Knox in the end zone, which it was a good play by Adrian Phillips to come in and punch the ball there. I thought Adrian Phillips played a fantastic game, by the way. Shout out to him. Matt Judon, phenomenal day. Jakob Johnson, phenomenal day. I'll get into that in a little bit. But it was just right from the get-go. I mean, you could tell. And honestly, if they don't fumble that ball on the punt, the Patriots, do we even score? I don't think we do. I mean, it was just a total lack of aggressiveness, a total lack of, wanting to be there. I don't know what it was, but we were out physicaled on the line, like I said. The play calling was trash. The receivers were not catching the football. Josh was throwing ropes. You can't really ask for much more. And every time we tried to run the ball, we'd gain a yard. Eventually, something's got to click there where you got to just say, listen, we're not going to run the ball. We're not going to establish the run. We're not going to do that. You have to throw that out the window. And it's like we're trying to fit a square peg in a triangular hole or whatever the term is. I don't even know, Mike. I'm so fired up right now. I'm so frazzled at the moment. And I'll tell you what, man, it's just, I'm frustrated right now. It's like you got to go back to the drawing board. You got to take a step back. Where's last year's offense? I know, over time teams figure you out and whatnot, but is there a power struggle between Brian Dable and Sean McDermott right now? Are they both on the same where they're saying, hey, let's just run the football. Let's throw a deep shot to Stephon Diggs. Oh, he dropped the pass. So let's go back and run the football and gain a yard again. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't understand. I fail to believe that they're not seeing this either. I mean, there's got to be what's going on in their heads right now. I mean, you can't keep settling for field goals. The red zone offense is absolutely atrocious. I mean, I think we're still in the bottom. I mean, we got to be bottom 3 in the league at that right now.
Easily.
Yeah, I just so many things, Mike. So many things.
Well, I mean, this was me a couple weeks ago after the Indy. I'm glad you're the one just letting it all out right now. And I have some questions on some points you talked about. But before I get there, let's recognize some folks in the channel. Kevin, good to see you again. Chris, yep, you call it 21-10, so you're even closer. You or I were super close to nailing it, but you were absolutely right. You held us to 10. I think both Jake and I were shocked when we heard you say 10, but you nailed it. Jim, Pats lose one, new to the channel. Great to see you.
I like the name.
He said, with my name, I hate Patriots, obviously.
That's pretty good, Jim. I respect it, man. You know what, though? They were the better team yesterday. And gosh, I mean, when a team can just carve you up the way that they did, it's just something else.
We got your mom out there. She's in the Newark airport now, and she's looking for a new O-line for the Bills. Yes.
Scrap everyone except Spencer Brown at this point. It's gotten that bad. Now, I will say this. On the defensive line, a lot of names came up yesterday. I thought at first, even our rookie DNs were kind of playing pretty well. I thought Greg Rousseau was doing all right. I thought Harry Phillips played a pretty nice game. But outside of that, I mean, I know Starr was kind of on a pitch count a little bit, so I didn't hear much of his name at all. I know he was kind of rotating in and out.
He played in like 23% of the snaps.
I was going to say, it wasn't a high percentage.
No, he wasn't. And he was definitely not his fault. This is why they put him on the snap count. So, so we were kind of playing with a 50% Starr, at his best. So Chris out there saying that was a gift from Keneal Harry. Absolutely. I mean, it was a big break. I mean, it was just some random with that weather. And the fact I was telling Jake, if they didn't have instant replay, I mean, you would have never seen that. It was
you would have never known.
So minor, and but it picked it up, and it did. We kind of gave you a gift as well. So it was one gift for another gift, right? When we were driving down there, we fumbled the ball, and actually they gave basically on the stat line, they gave Josh Allen credit for the fumble. I don't know if you knew that.
I saw that. I did see that. I saw it in my fantasy game, actually. Yeah, what the heck is that all about?
The scorer said it was a bad handoff, and I'm going to give both of them, put them both at fault. But, Josh got tagged with that on the score line. So I have a couple questions based on some things that you talked about. First of all, the drops. So one of the things I've been hearing on social media was that great throw. I think it was a great throw to Stephon Diggs in the weather. Whether he was going with the wind or not, the way that wind was taking that ball, and it was a deep pass, it was about as pretty as you could throw it. As a receiver, who you played receiver before, Jake, do you feel that a highly paid professional like Stephon Diggs, because this is what I've been hearing on social media, he should be catching that pass all day?
So I'm going to say this, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, Mike. So Randy Moss and Alex Smith, who work for ESPN, they went down on the field, and they were kind of just showing how it is to throw the football and, tracking the ball and whatnot. And that ball is moving. I mean, the wind is insane. It's such a factor. And a lot of people want to say, oh, that's such a bad excuse. Well, it is an excuse for sure. Don't get me wrong. And Josh threw an incredible ball. I don't know if any other quarterback's throwing that pass in this league right now in this type of weather. It's just not happening. Yes, I mean, it's a tough catch. It's a really tough adjustment. You have the lights, you have the wind, you have so many things going on. And that ball, it started like inside the hash marks, and it carried about 10 yards outside. And it was placed perfectly. I don't know if Josh planned it that way or if he just kind of chucked it up there, but it was like perfect.
Yeah.
And you could see Stephon, he kind of lost track of the ball. And I don't know if it was the lights or the wind or whatever, but that ball was kind of moving a little bit, like I said. So he goes like this to look inside, and he's supposed to be looking outside if he wanted to catch that pass, and it kind of just bounced off his arm. So, I mean, I'll give him a pass on that just based on the elements. I think in any other game, you take the wind out of play, you got to make that catch 100%. I mean, that's where you're paying the big bucks for this guy. This guy's an elite receiver, top 5 receiver, right? Supposed to make that catch 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, really. But I'll give him a pass on this one. I know it was a really tough catch, incredible throw. And like I said, for once, Mike, it's so nice to just know that it's not the quarterback's fault. It's not the quarterback's fault this time around. It's finally something else. Because throughout Bill's history, really since Jim Kelly, who are you placing the blame on? It's always the quarterback. Oh, we had Tyrod. Oh, let's get rid of him. Nate Peterman, 5 interceptions, done. JP Lossman, mental case, get him out of here. Trent Edwards, oh my gosh, concussion, never going to play football again, never going to play at a high level again. So it's always something with our quarterback. So it's finally nice to have a guy. Now, he does make mistakes, don't get me wrong, and sometimes they are just head scratchers. But I can say yesterday confidently that I feel like we have our quarterback. And that really, I mean, that was part of my key matchups. I said Josh Allen versus primetime. I thought he delivered. I wish there was more designed runs for him. But the way he was throwing the football was so impressive to me. And I know he was only 50% on his passes, but you try to complete, 1 of 4 passes in that weather, I think you're having a good day. So it's just crazy to me. There's a lot of people also blaming the refs. I think that's total BS.
No,
I mean, the Patriots I think the Patriots got more screwed than we did on their calls.
Especially on
with
that.
The personal foul, the horse collar. I mean, this is a soft league. I got to be honest with you. This is an absolute. I'm going on a tear right now, Mike. I'm seeing nothing but red, and I'm trying to collect all my thoughts here. But man, oh man.
Well, let me bring you
back to what I was saying. I think we have our quarterback, which is great. Yeah. Great news for us.
So I agree with you. I obviously believe we have our quarterback, but I will say this: this is the 3rd time now we've had a quarterback that people were expecting or we thought was going to be an MVP candidate. It's the 3rd time this man has had the ball in his hands on the last drive of the game and has failed to put it in the end zone. Yes, there's other factors, but I got to put some of that on him. You mentioned all those other great quarterbacks. None of them have been paid the amount of money that this guy's getting paid.
That's true.
Now, I do agree with you. We talked about, man, why weren't there more design plays for him to run the ball? That was all over social media as well. Why weren't there more? When he did take off, it was successful. I do think the Patriots had a good scheme. They were kind of containing him. You could see that. And again, so I agree with you. We got our quarterback. We don't have to worry about that. And there were other factors, some drops in particular. But I got to put a little bit on him. I do. I have to.
Sure. Yeah. And that's fair. I think
he's the leader. Now, I'll ask you this. So we're down 8-0. Because the Patriots score, and they're the only ones, and I have this on my note here on the side, they're the only team that scored any points against the wind, right? They get that 64-yard touchdown, the only one. They go for 2, smart, and then we come back and score. What are we thinking? Why are we not going for 2? I don't know. I don't know what analytics they're looking at, but like you said, have faith in your team and let's go toe to toe. I believe, I get it. They were with the win, so like, it'd be easy to kick the extra point. But you're going to be trying to catch up on that all day. So we were down by 4 points, 14-10. We had 2 shots in the red zone late in the 4th. If we were just down by 3, we have a chance of getting one of those. If we tried 2 field goals, one at least try to tie the game. So I was baffled by that one right off the bat. And then there's some other stupid things I have on my slide that I'll talk about. But
it's like we're playing, I don't know. It's scared. We're playing scared. Settle for a field goal. We'll get a stop on defense. I mean, we can stop and run. Well, no, they're gaining 5 to 7 yards a pop, usually more than that. It just doesn't make sense to me. And for a guy, Sean McDermott, I love him to death. Don't get me wrong. But for a guy that claims to have so much faith in his players, like, how demoralizing is that? You're going to just settle for a field goal? Now, Tyler Bass is a great kicker. Don't get me wrong. But in the given situation, you got to bring some energy into that locker room. You got to bring some energy to that team. Like, you go down and you score a touchdown, even if you make the decision and it doesn't work out, you at least have the respect for your guys saying, hey, this guy's got some nuts. Like, he's going to go for it instead of just settle for points. And usually, I mean, listen, we're getting the field goal 9 times out of 10, which is a good thing, but you're not going to win with field goals. And I know yesterday was a totally weird situation, but you have a chance to make a statement on national television on primetime. And just the lack of aggressiveness was so bothersome and just so telling, honestly. Belichick's probably laughing to himself the entire game. I mean, it's just,
I know.
He knew what he did. He baited him right into it.
Yeah, I feel like he was like, we're not going to throw the ball. We're going to embarrass them that much. We are not
like
going to throw the ball.
And then he threw the ball at the end of the game just because it felt like almost,
Yeah. So let me get into my notes. But before I do, I'd love to hear Jim Pats lose one. Where are you from, Jim? Are you in Buffalo? Where are you at these days supporting the Bills? And then Kevin Wright, where are you at? Where are you at located at? It'd be great to know where you guys are. So let me go through some of my notes. And you touched on most of these already. So we already talked about the giveaway. Let me get over to some of my notes here. And my slide.
Down a little bit now.
Yeah, the Patriots win round 1, overpowering the Bills. You already said that. They overpowered us on both sides of the ball. Patriots rushed 46 times, 222 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. Mac Jones throws 3 times, going 2 for 3 for 19 yards. 3 times is insane that you don't win this game. So right there, all right, we knew we had 11 days to prepare for this game. Once the weather was pretty much predicted, you had to start thinking that this was going to be just a run-heavy game. And they didn't bring any personnel out to make you think differently throughout the whole game. They were just like, we're bringing in our run offensive scheme, and you need to stop it. And we couldn't. And what a way to make it easy for a rookie. What a
Honestly,
way. You couldn't have made it any easier for a rookie. So Mac Jones, he's not even part of the equation in this game. Yeah. Let's just say that. Other than being able to hand off, and the throw he made, the one completion to Jonnu Smith, my God, Jonnu Smith.
What a catch.
What a catch. I mean, that was probably one of the best catches all weekend. I think one of the announcers said that as well. So let's see. Patriots, their only team to score against the wind. When they scored that touchdown against the wind with that 64-yard run, I'm like, advantage Patriots. It's going to be hard to catch up with that, because obviously there were no other scores against the wind. Not a field goal, not another touchdown. So it was huge. Let's see. Josh Allen, I already mentioned that. He got credited with the fumble for the bad handoff. I'm going to put some of that on Breda as well. After the fumble, 3 plays later, 3rd and 5. 3rd and 5, Jake. We let Damian Harris go for 64 yards to the house. Now, right there, I'm going to stop. Now, this is the 3rd time this season that the Bills defense has given up a 60-plus yard touchdown to a running back. One was for Henry, one was from Harris, and then we had the early one with Washington when they took a screen play and Gibson went to the house, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm going to show you something here real quick. I got to show this. So on the screen, you're looking at 3rd and 5, Damian Harris about to make the cut. So he goes left, right? They pitch left. Look at the over pursuance of the Bills, right? Look at that lane. And I have, if you can see it, you could drive a car through that lane, literally. Yep. He makes the cut, he's gone. Now, I also want to point out your guy, Jermaine Edmonds, who you've been giving lots of kudos to. Look where he is in this play. So he's, again, took a lot of the wrong lanes yesterday. But I'm not an X and O guy, so I'm going to ask you this question. There's something in football, I've heard it, stay in your lane, but you had another term for it. Talk to me about where the Bills went wrong on this play.
It's pretty much you got to stay home. And the only guy Jermaine Edmonds was finding was Jakob Johnson, the fullback. And let me tell you, he was blown up on not just this play, but multiple plays. I think he was put on his back a few times, actually, too. And I think it's been a common issue with him where he over pursues. He gets sucked into a play where he shouldn't be. Had he just not overcommitted like that, maybe he still, he has to take on a blocker or something, but you wrong arm and then you get back inside where you're supposed to be. Instead, you're way outside of the play. And look at this lane. I mean, the lane is insane right here.
It's crazy, right?
Like you said, you could drive a Mack truck through that thing. I mean, you could use the auto. You could probably have a guy go down on the field, drive a car, and then have another guy come up around and take a picture of the license plate and use the auto app with it, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
There you go.
So Epinesa too. Epinesa, you can see he's he's in the backfield, but he was over up against with N'Keal Harry. And Harry
is a really good blocker,
gave him
by the way.
Fits all game, and the announcers were even talking about that. But you can just see and let's talk about it right now, because you sent me a message this morning about a guy who tweeted, and it was an amazing 2-minute video about what they were doing to the Bills, and they were just doing the same thing, going left,
same play,
going right.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about what that play was?
Yeah, essentially, nothing crazy. I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel or anything like that. They go I formation, and it's more or less just a regular run play. You have Jakob Johnson. I mean, it's a hat on hat football. It's man on man. Very simple. Who wants it more? Essentially, at that point, and Patriots players were just finding Bills guys and putting them on their back, and running backs were eating them apart pretty much, gaining on that play. I think in particular, the first one that we showed, it was like that 22-yard run by Damian Harris. And it would have been longer had he not had a hamstring problem. So,
yeah.
And it was repetitive. I mean, they ran that same play multiple times, like back and forth. It was just, I mean, it's like we didn't have a clue almost, or I don't know what it was, but we were totally out physical, like I said. And I want to give my nod to Jakob Johnson as an all-pro fullback. I mean, if it wasn't for Patrick Ricard, this guy would be right up there in the AFC. He'd be the Pro Bowl fullback for the AFC. This guy had a monster day yesterday, put on an absolute clinic. He looked like Lorenzo Neal out there blocking these guys. I mean, he was able to, like I said, I mean, Jermaine Edmonds, he made him look silly. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to really say about this. I think this picture right here just speaks volumes of how poor we were against the run. And it hurts. Like, I know we had some stops too. Like Matt Milano, actually, at the end of the game, he had a couple of nice stops. But for the most part, I think our linebackers really struggled yesterday. And Matt Milano struggled a bit himself. Terrell Dotson, I thought, actually came in and did a decent job. He was probably the best of the bunch. Hate to say that, but it's good to know that he could play. And I think we sort of knew this a little bit. He was in before and stuff like that. He hasn't played a whole lot this year. But yeah, Tremaine, he definitely took a step back last night, and you could tell he's not great against the run. He's had problems with it his entire career. I think coverage-wise, he's not terrible. He's an athletic linebacker. Maybe he needs to be playing on the edge. I don't know if that's the right spot for him, honestly. He came in as an edge rusher mainly, as an outside linebacker, so that wasn't his natural position to begin with. But you could see it here. I mean, this is just one of many examples of what happened to him last night.
Yeah, so we had talked about back in the indie game and even pregame about them getting away from the nickel defense, and they did that.
Yeah, they did it, Mike. They
three
listened.
Linebackers, right? It still didn't help us, but we got some bad news right before the game that AJ Klein, probably our best run-stopping linebacker, if he was playing that, I don't know what would have happened. Who knows? But yeah, that was some bad news going on the COVID list right before the game. This COVID thing keeps biting us a couple times now this year, as it has pretty much every team out there. But yeah, it was nice to see them get away from the nickel. I'm sure it helped to some degree. But again, they were just, unbelievable. They're just over pursuing here. So let me get back to my notes. I got a couple other images to show you.
Oh, boy.
This
is one of many.
Hey, we're going deep.
I like this. We need to do more film breakdown, especially in these bad games.
We're doing some more breakdown for sure. Nickel City Mafia going deeper here in the game. So let's go. All right. So let me go back here. So what did I say? I left off at the 64-yard run. Third time the Bills give up the big play. Bills get favor return. We talked about N'Keal Harry, muffin the punt, just lucky. I mean, that was just such a random thing. Bills score first play after fumble recovery, but do not go for two. We already talked about that. I'm like, what were you thinking? McDermott, I put that on you. Let's see. Bills come away with 0 points. 0 points in the fourth quarter, despite being in the red zone 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can happen. And we've struggled. You mentioned it off the top of the show. We've been having problems all year long. I don't know what's happened. Bills, no run game. Josh, top rusher, 39 yards. He 6.5 per carry. God. But that was all kind of...
It wasn't even designed.
It wasn't designed, right? And
improvising.
We were expecting more design plays, and that didn't happen. Yeah. I saw that blowing up on social media. Why weren't we doing more of that? And I totally agree with him, because you and I talked about that. Let's use Josh's legs. That's a weapon for us. But again, New England did a pretty good job, a very good job of containing him, even if he was going to run. They were kind of waiting for that. And then I got to say this. Horrible use of timeouts. Challenging Mac Jones' spot on that 4th down call. You couldn't see Mac Jones. Who did McDermott get a call from saying you need to challenge this?
There was a clear miscommunication in the headset somewhere there, because it's like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time right now, and then you lose the timeout. So it's just very poor. The timeout situation this whole season has been an issue, and yesterday it was no more evident. It's just crazy to me.
So I texted you this strategy, and no one used it, but
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. All right, look, if you got a team going against the wind and you want to waste timeouts, use those timeouts when they're going against the wind. Let's keep them going against the wind as long as we can, right? I would have
maybe get a turnover or something.
Exactly, or make them punt into the wind and get field position. I forget what I think I heard something like our starting position on every drive was 40-yard line, our 40-yard line.
Great field position.
And their average starting position was like the 23 or 24. Are you kidding me? That's just insane. So the timeout thing was atrocious. And again, I was like, I don't know why. Maybe I'm not a coach, obviously, but I feel like I feel like I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm like,
it's valid, Mike.
Let's keep those teams going against the wind as long as possible. So there's kind of like my notes. We kind of touched on all those. Anything else I missed, Jake, that you really want to discuss? I do want to talk about that last 4th down play that pretty much ended the game for us. But anything else before I show that?
I think there's a lot of soul searching that needs to be done. And I think Sean McDermott and Brian Dable have to have a serious talk and formulate a better game plan coming into Tampa, because we cannot show up to Tampa against the Super Bowl champs and go out like that. I know the weather's not going to be even a factor in this game. Hopefully it's not raining or anything like that, because it seems to be all the dome folks are coming out of the woodwork right now saying, see, if we would have had a dome, it would have been better and all that stuff. So I get it. I hear you. I totally understand where you're coming from. And it's crazy because I was listening to a couple other shows too, Mike, and I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I just feel like I need to mention this. Mm-hmm. So with the weather thing, it used to be like an advantage to us, this bad weather, and you could typically see that against these like teams that would come in from the South. Now I know New England's kind of an exception because they play in the same type of elements and whatnot, but you have these teams from the South, Miami and, Atlanta and New Orleans and stuff like that. They come up to Buffalo and they struggle because they're not used to playing in these types of elements. And it's like we came out there and you could see Josh looked very comfortable in it, but everyone else, I mean, the drop passes, the lack of physicality, all of that stuff didn't look like they even wanted to be there, honestly. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case for everyone. I think I don't know if you saw Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer in their post-game press conference.
I did.
They got a little ticked off, and they actually stood up and said, "You can even ask that question." I know Jerry Sullivan tends to like to create some waves and whatnot. He was with the Buffalo News for a long time, and he always likes to ask those questions.
I didn't think it was over.
I didn't think it was that bad of a question. I think they got caught up. Yeah. Heat of the moment.
I mean, come on. I mean, these sports reporters are fans as well. So we want them to ask these tough questions. Really?
Right.
Now, I know they have to be careful. I think they took
that a little
bit
more salty than they should have. And that's okay. They're emotional. It's after a loss like that. So I understand it. You get caught up sometimes with it. So where was I going with this? I was saying you can't show up in Tampa and run with the same game plan that you did. And I don't think they will. Obviously it's a little bit different conditions wise. I think they did prepare to play in these conditions because they wanted to establish the run. They tried so desperately to establish some type of running game. And at first I actually thought Zach Moss was okay, but then you see that one run where he actually could have scored on it if he bounces outside. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was another thing too. I didn't think he played all that bad considering, but Matt Breida had a horrendous game. Devin Singletary had one really good run. And outside of that, I mean, every single run that we attempted would go for maybe a yard or so. It was essentially a wasted down.
Well,
and that's the most frustrating part of it all. Because it's like you throw a pass, even a 5-yard pass or something, you're bound to complete one of those, right? I mean, and if you can't, maybe throw a screen or something. I mean, there was no screen game even. So I don't know. I'm perplexed. And you got to just flush this one. Just flush it and move on. Because it's just...
Well, as far as the run game goes, Breida only had one rushing, one attempt. Now, for me, we've gone back and forth all year on these running back situations. You remember me earlier in the year, my boy was Singletary. Then you guys convinced me to move to Moss. Then we kind of got excited that maybe Breida is going to bring a new thing. I don't think that's happening. I think that experiment's over. To me, Singletary is, if you look, average yards per carry, he is our best back. And he is a downhill runner, and he does bounce it sometimes. Like you said, Moss, yes, everyone was talking about that. If he just makes an adjustment and bounces. We were running everything pretty much straight up the gut, which I didn't understand. Devon
Right.
Godshaw was eating dinner all night long. I think the dude
Him and
had
Christian Darmore Barmore. What a game.
I think the guy had like 10 tackles, Godshaw, because we just kept running it up the gut at him. And he's like, keep bringing it. This is easy for me. Easy game tonight. I don't think we did a lot on the outside at all. I mean,
no.
We should have.
And we couldn't really. I mean, Matt Judon's out there, Kyle Van Noy on the other side, so it's tough.
I mean, we had that one nice play late in the game where Singletary actually did bounce it to the outside again. So to me, I know pregame you were saying Bright has got to be that starter. I think go back to Singletary. I've always said from even preseason, give Singletary a majority of the carries.
He's like the even out guy.
Let's see what he can do. Let's see what he do. We got a lot in the channel here. And also, I just wanted to quickly say, how do you think the guys who put the schedule together playing Belichick, then going against Brady, then Belichick again, back to back to back? I mean, seriously, thank you guys for whoever that is. I got to send you. I'm not going to put you on my Christmas list. You will not be getting a gift from me.
Yeah. It's awful.
I think we got Brian Dable in the channel. He's changed his name because he's a little embarrassed. So let's take some of his questions. We might have Dable right here in the channel.
Oh,
his first question is, why did they not go for 2 after the first touchdown? We touched on this already. We're both in agreement with you, Brian. Why didn't you call the play to go for 2? But I think Brian's saying, hey, the coach overrode me, man. The coach was like, go for 1. Brian Dable is saying, hey, we should have went for 2. Brian, welcome to the channel. First time we've seen you out there, I believe. Great to have you on the channel. Kevin Wright from the UK. That's awesome.
Wow.
Love it. And let's see, what else did he say? Yes, he talked about the 2-pointer, but even if they missed the 2-point, they are still in the same situation. Again, totally agree with you. Kick the 2-pointer, go for the 2-pointer. Also, after the game, they go for field goal and miss, but even if they had made it, they'd have to get another. Would rather them see the 2 fourth down attempts. Another big thing that was on social media is that they should have went for it on 4th down. I was saying go for a 4th down. I mean, nobody had scored into the win. I saw some kicks. They were doing some things pregame, and that win was just playing
terrible.
And
it was bad.
And I know the announcer on the field said that she talked to our kicker, and he said he was comfortable from pretty much the extra point range.
Right.
So Bass said, hey, that's about where I'm comfortable with. And that was where it was at. And he started it off right. I mean, here's a guy who's in Buffalo, and I love Bass. Don't get me wrong; he's one of the best kickers in the league.
Sure.
But he didn't read it right. He didn't read it right at all on that one, and pushed it to the right. And of course, the wind just took it there. So let's see. Then we got Kevin Wright, Panthers game sandwiched in between.
Oh yeah. So it goes. So we had New England, Tampa, then Carolina. That was actually going to either be a Saturday or a Sunday game, and it's a Sunday game on the 19th. And then New England is the day after Christmas. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. I thought we had them.
That's right. No, that would have been even more brutal. I'm kind of glad that we have that Panthers game in between to, balance it out a touch. But
yeah, thanks for the correction.
We are in a position right now, Mike, where we may need to. I mean, we can only maybe afford one more loss. I mean, other than that, we kind of have to win out. With the way the AFC is right now, I mean, it's so close. I mean, you have the Colts that are coming up; they're 7-6.
Yeah.
Steelers are 6-5. 6-5-1, and then the Raiders are 6-6. I mean, Browns are hanging around too. They're 6-6. So just crazy.
I don't think 10-5. Let's look at the worst case scenario. We lose to the Bucks. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, and then we lose again to the Pats. We are 7-7. Now take the Carolina game out. So let's say we win the Carolina game. The best we can do at that point, if we lose those 2 games, is 10-7. And I'm thinking with where the standings are right now, 10-7 may not get you in. Especially if you don't have the tiebreakers. I think there's going to be quite a few teams right at 10-7. And right now, our conference record is horrible. Our division record is good. We've only got the 1 loss to the Patriots. So you're right. I think between the Patriots game coming up and the Bucks game this coming week, got to win one of those 2. To be in control of our own destiny, we've got to win one of those 2. and we'll see. So
I know. I am worried. I am very worried.
yeah. Kevin's saying 6-7-6 going into the Panthers game will be squeaky burn time. Little to no chance against the Bucs, in my opinion. Yeah, we're going to talk about that shortly there, Kevin, for sure. Not how this team is playing. How can you say we aren't going to have a chance? Obviously, we know firsthand any given Sunday really means something this year.
Sure. Yeah.
All the games that we've seen every week, you think you know who the best team is, and they go out and get whooped. So we know it's possible. We know this team is capable, but the way they're playing, going against the GOAT, we'll see. So I have a couple other things I want to bring up. So it's the last 4th down attempt for us. All right. I'm going to we're going to go a little deep again here with some image clips here.
I like it.
It's 4th and 14, 2 minutes ago in the game. Now I want you to look at the top right of the screen there. Yeah. Who's out there one-on-one? That is our best receiver, Stefon Diggs. Okay. He's one-on-one. They have 7 guys rushing on the line. If you were to count those helmets, there's 7 guys. That guy, that safety, about 3-4 yards back, he's going to blitz, and he does blitz. He comes up the middle there, right where I have that arrow. So Stefon Diggs, and then let me go a little next clip here. So here's the play developing, and you'll see I have Stefon circled up in the top right, and you can kind of see the whole field here. Yep. Josh never looks his way. He's obviously going for Beasley, and we got Gabe Davis out there. Not sure why Sanders wasn't out there in this important time, but he wasn't. But in my opinion, again, it was going to be a low percentage chance that we make this anyhow. But if it's me, I'm going to put the ball into my best player's hands and give him a shot. This is like, to me, Michael Jordan going to the, hey, last play of the game, and Michael Jordan wanted that ball. I bet you Jerry Rice had some similar situations, and they're throwing the ball to Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice used to be doubled all the time, and the guy would still put up 12 catches a game, well over 100 yards.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw that ball to my best player. Now, he's one-on-one. What better opportunity? He's got better than a 50-50 chance to make
about
a catch.
3-yard cushion there too.
Got 3-yard cushion. He makes a cut inward. He's one of the best route runners in the game, if not the best. He can easily make a little juke, cut it inside. Josh thrown to him. Now Josh was looking off the defense the whole time. He never looked at Stefon Diggs, but he's looking left. If he just makes that turns over to the right side, he's got everyone already over to the left. And boom, make that throw. Give us a shot with our best player. I don't know. That's my thought, Jake. Did you see that when it happened? Did you notice that?
I did. So on the replay, you could see it. Yeah, you could see it. And what's frustrating, and he was open. I mean, you get like at this moment right here in this particular still, you could almost go. I mean, the problem is he's not even at the sticks. That's the only problem right there.
Well, if he throws the ball now and he starts to cut, it's going to be there right at the stick.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, you have these two. Yep. Yeah, I'm thinking, actually, I agree with what my buddy Ian said right there, if you look. So I think that final play, I definitely agree with that. I think that was more for sure on the actual play call itself. So he had his particular reads there. And based on they were probably telling him to look for Gabe Davis on that initially because he's a bigger target too. And I think that's part of the reason why he was on the field too. He's 6'2", 6'3", so bigger target than Emmanuel Sanders. And then you have Cole Beasley, who's a great slot guy, right? And he's been known to make big plays when they need to. So on that, he had Cole open actually at the end of this too. And a lot of people thought they were probably throwing him. I think they were actually targeting Gabe Davis in the back of the end zone there because he kind of got free a little bit. But nonetheless, I agree. Stefon Diggs, he's right there. It's like, that's your best guy. Why don't you just throw it up to him or do something? Shoot.
Yeah, it was
worth a shot.
It was not a good pass. The ball did float. The wind took it.
Yeah,
and
that was one of the bad passes that he had.
Yeah, and he didn't bullet it. That was the other thing too. He didn't use his arm there. It was just kind of more of a floater a little bit, and it fell short about the 5-yard line. And it was definitely to the left of Beasley. It wasn't even close to Davis. If he was going for Davis in the end zone, not even close.
Not
there.
even close.
But-
yeah. It would have been intercepted, if anything, I think, because you have Miles Bryant, too, that kind of came up there at the end. I don't know if you could see that there. But
So so Z-Bell out there says, I would say the play, like you just said, was more the play call. But
I agree with that.
Don't quarterbacks, especially a guy like Josh, have the luxury to kind of walk up to the
That's
line
what I want
and
to get
maybe
into.
have a couple plays in his head and like, oh my God,
Yes.
they're putting Steph one-on-one.
That's right.
Again, it's their best corner as well. But I'm just saying, we have been saying all year, feed Diggs, and Diggs was so close a couple times. Obviously, that bomb
I know.
that was missed. He had another play up the right side near the end zone. If Josh just throws it in bounds, he probably makes another touchdown catch. Anyhow, talk to me about. Let's see. Let me go to Kevin. Right, Kevin says Diggs is not a prime red zone target. He does damage between the 20s. Well, I can respect that, Kevin, but I will say that Diggs has, I think, our most.
He's been scoring a lot. Actually, he's got 7 touchdowns this year.
Right,
There's that.
He's probably got our most red zone touchdowns. The only other guy that might be in there is Knox, but I want to say Diggs has scored the most in the red zone. So I respect what you're saying, and all I'm saying is, hey, this was a play that was probably not going to have success. It was right, and I'm just saying, let's go to the best guy on your team. Let's go to your best guy if you're going to do this. Now, it was a bummer. We had 3rd and 9, or no, it was what 2nd and 9 or 3rd and 9, and then Knox. I call him Docs.
The false start.
Knox with the false start. I mean, come on. Let me go here back to Kevin. Plus, JC Jackson is on him. Yeah, I respect that totally, Kevin.
I think Bill is almost. I mean, you saw how far off he was. So when they lined up, it was a pretty big cushion. So you could tell. I mean, obviously, right off the bat, they're playing some type of zone here.
Yeah.
But as you see this progress, I mean, there's still, he's giving him a little bit of a cushion here. I think Bill's challenging him to throw that ball. I mean, a big thing is when you're playing, in the red zone there, you want to keep everything in front of you too. So there is that. But yeah, I think this whole thing is just very frustrating. And right from the get-go, you sort of knew that it was a dead play. It just wasn't going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I do think, Mike, we were talking a little bit about this. Does Josh have kind of the freedom to make a call at the line or change it up or do something, where you can do something like along those lines where you can switch it up and maybe get a better shot at a play that'll work. And I'm not seeing a ton of that. I don't know how much freedom he has, and I almost feel like he's hesitant, and that might be something to do with coaching. Maybe he's just trusting in his coaches too much. He's trusting in Daboll and our boy Brian Label over here a little too much. I don't know. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I
very
think
frustrating.
Let's
very
see.
frustrating.
Somebody had a good point. So Z-Bell said, honestly, you see 8-man rushing. I'd like to just see Josh run there. I know it's a long way, but you got to get to the outside. Josh can steamroll DBs. Absolutely. I mean, if he gets beyond that line of scrimmage there, oh my God, it's just. And then if you can expect one of those receivers to give him a little bit of block, I mean, I like his odds. I like that call there. And yeah, Kevin, you're right. He hasn't scored a lot of red zone against good teams. We've definitely struggled against good teams. But
that's true. I mean, 2 of those were against, what was it, last week? We had the Saints. Did he score against? He scored against the Saints, right? And then the Jets. And then the one was garbage time against the Colts.
Yeah.
There was that.
Yeah.
So that is true. He makes a good point there.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I just thought it'd be an interesting thing because I'm just going back to, I'm throwing Michael Jordan and I'm just throwing the greats out there. I'm throwing Jerry Rice out there. And I know there were games where Jerry Rice would be doubled, tripled. And I mean, he was the first pick for everyone in their fantasy football league because of that. The dude would just make plays. And Stefan's that kind of guy, I believe. And, anyhow.
That's some high praise. I like it. I respect it, Mike.
That was just an interesting
Jerry Rice,
take.
I think Jerry Rice, in my opinion, is the best football player of all time. I'm going to go on the record and say that, by the way. I mean, the guy, none of his numbers are going to ever be touched.
Yeah.
And the fact this guy had 1,292 receiving yards at age 40 is insane.
Agreed.
No one's doing that. Randy Moss didn't do that. I mean, Randy Moss fizzled out in his early 30s. Like, that's saying something. It's incredible what that guy did. Larry Fitzgerald was probably the closest in terms of numbers, which he actually is because he's second all time and everything. But wild, just wild what that guy did. And he played against he played in 3 different decades. So you can't say he didn't
Yeah.
play against some of the top-notch corners. He also played in a more physical
Played against Deion Sanders. I mean,
Deion Sanders.
Come on now.
That was some classic.
Oh yeah, and he had some big
battles.
games against Deon, so
Yes.
you got to check those out. So I'm just saying it was a low percentage chance that we are going to do this, and I agree with you, Brian. He says this year's defense plus last year's offense equals Super Bowl team. What's crazy about that statement is we pretty much have everyone from last year's offense. So what has changed? Is it just the fact that the book is out and it's the book out? And yeah, there was the safe or the linebacker or whoever were there was spying Josh as well. But I still like Josh's chance if he takes off. But again, interesting point out. I saw that right when they lined up for that play. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, you texted me right away. You're like, why don't they just?
No, I couldn't see the whole field. So, but when I was able to see this replay, I'm like, he truly was 1-on-1 out there. So pretty crazy stuff. So let's see here. We added a couple new segments, and I think we're going to go through these pretty quick. Jake, you ready to move on for this? Let's talk about some game balls, if any. And we've added 2 new segments. So let's talk about that first of all.
Sure.
Do we have any game balls? Now, trust me, if we were a Patriots channel, we're giving game balls.
It'd be hard to decide who.
We'd be giving game balls to everybody. Now, the game ball is meant to be could be an individual, could be a unit. It could be just somebody who you think, even though we got whooped, it was a close game, but we got overpowered in the trenches. Was there anybody deserving who you said, you know what, they played their heart out and it wasn't on them, that might get a game ball here? I'll throw it to you first to see.
Yeah. Well, one of the shows that I watched made a very good point. Bill's Mafia deserves some credit for this. They showed up. The diehards, you were saying, Mike, you felt bad for the diehards going to this game. I mean, jeepers. People started tailgating for this thing at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, imagine those people. I respect the hell out of those people who went to the game last night and stayed the entire time and watched every single second of that. Shout out to them. They deserve a big pat on the back because that was not easy to do, especially with those elements. But on the real player-wise, I think Harrison Phillips played a pretty damn good game. He was one of the bright spots on our lines. And then I guess I said Josh Allen threw the ball exceptionally well in this type of weather. So I'm going to give it to him. I think play calling limited him and his ability to really do as much as he should have done. And I think we could have really won by 2 touchdowns had we just let him be Josh and unleash and do the things that he does best. But coaching yesterday was so huge and so evident that we were so far behind New England. Like, it just screwed everything up, honestly. We could never get in a proper rhythm. And so I'll give my game ball to Josh just because I feel like had we just let that guy unleash, he could have taken over that game. And I feel like he was starting to get there, even on that last drive. I mean, we were moving the ball. We were running up-tempo offense. We were in shotgun. You put him in shotgun, too. This is another good point. I was talking with my buddy about this. Put him in shotgun. Those edge rushers, they get gassed. I mean, Matt Judon, he actually got injured at the end of the game there. But those guys get tired. I mean, you're rushing that. You got to get in the backfield like that. I mean, it's a lot that wears you down. Then you're completing passes left and right. You're doing up-tempo offense like that. I mean, it wears the defense down. And we could see that was happening. But the fact that we didn't continue that and we would almost stall out, it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. That's been the story of the year. Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's almost like we're holding ourselves back. We beat ourselves every game in one way or the other. It's very rare that we have, nothing but praise for this team. I mean, and when we do, it's usually against just cupcake teams like the Jets or something like that. So very frustrating, but I'll give my game ball to Josh and I'm done. I got to move on from this because I'm just going to go on another tangent.
All right. Well, I do want to say goodbye to Brian. He said he's got to go. So thanks for joining the channel. Hopefully you subscribe.
Brian, appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Hopefully you subscribe. You brought a lot of good info. Hope to see you again. Kevin, same thing. I know you were there last on our pregame. Hope to see you. And let's see who else we got out there. Jim Pats lose one. Hope to see you again. Hopefully you're staying around. We got more show here. We got more show, guys. Yeah. Don't go anywhere. We got lots more to go. But Brian has to leave. And Brian, I know I'm seriously thinking this is Dable. He's got to get back to studying the films. Come up with something. Come up with something for Tampa, Brian. I'm counting on you, man. Come on now.
Yeah.
So me, Jake, I mean, The only other guy I was even considering was maybe Diggs, and it was dependent on your answer there for that catch. And I gave him a pass. I grew up in Buffalo. I played as a kid in weather like that. I know how that ball can move. You're an actual receiver who played high school. And did you play college or no? You
little bit. Very,
bit.
very short stint. Too many concussions. I had to cut it short.
So you gave him a pass. But going back with the media, the social media, I'm not going to give him the game ball. I do think he played a very good game. And I believe if we had gotten him the ball a few more times, he could have been a game changer for us. But I'm going to go with what you said to start with, and that is the Bills Mafia. The fans out there get the game ball. I mean, the support in that weather, God, I felt for them. I really did. And then trying to drive home in that stuff, man, unbelievable. Yeah. So game ball to Bills Mafia and game ball to Josh. Now, just a little bit of fun today. We're in another new segment. Who's running laps? Who we got running laps? Who we upset with? Who are we going to make run laps?
Two guys come to mind, Mike.
All right,
that's Dawson Knox, first off, and Matt Breida. My guy, the guy I've been vouching for.
Wow.
Not only did he fumble the ball on that run, but if you saw on that kickoff, and they've been pretty lax on these kickoff rules, and I'm not sure if this was a change in the rules or not, but when he caught that, well, he muffed it first off.
Yeah.
The ball drops, and it goes out of the back of the end zone. He was outside of the end zone when he caught that. And I don't know if you remember, like back a few years ago when we played the Texans in the playoffs, there was that whole thing where they said he gave himself up or whatever, but he instead, I mean, we could have had a touchdown on that play with Taiwan Jones. That was a while back. Or no, that wasn't Taiwan Jones. He was on the Texans. He was the guy who killed us. But anyways, Matt Breida definitely got to be running laps, man. I mean, hold on to the football. And what's crazy is Sean McDermott came out and he said, I wanted to put guys back there, talking about the return guys, Micah Hyde and Matt Breida on the kickoff. He wanted to put guys back there that he knew he could trust to handle the football. So Isaiah McKenzie actually commented on that because he had gotten wind of the comments and he saw like a post on social media and he just said, damn, that was it.
Yeah.
So I hope there's not something brewing there in the locker room. I hate to, stir something up here and make rumors, but I hope there's not something more to that.
Okay, so you said Breida and who else?
Breida and Dawson Knox.
Okay,
I mean, you got to catch the football.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, he catches the game-winning touchdown if he makes that catch. I mean, I know Adrian Phillips got in there and kind of punched the ball, but gosh, and then he had drops left and right there. So it's just.
So before I get into mine, let's talk about something we forgot to talk about. That you made an interesting point there. We had no Marquise Stevenson, and we had no Isaiah McKenzie. They were both inactive for the game. I could see why when I heard that, I'm like, all right, Micah Hyde, I know he's got some experience. They're probably not going to want anyone touching the ball in that weather anyway. It would have been nice to have one of those guys to do some, gadget plays, possibly not gadget plays, but what do they call it? Jet sweep.
Yeah.
What was your thought on both of those guys being inactive?
I think Isaiah McKenzie could have actually helped us quite a bit yesterday. I mean, just running him and doing some different type of gadget plays, using some creativity instead of running a, 1 yard halfback slam up the middle, every other play. So yeah, it was a little surprising at first. And then when they activated the three running backs, I'm like, oh, okay. So they're going to probably feature Zach Moss a little bit in the game plan here. And, obviously Micah Hyde has the return experience. Matt Breida was a kickoff returner too. And he has been, he's even returned kicks with us. So I was okay with it. I was interested to see how they would, I guess use the personnel that they had, because now you're taking out two potential game-changing players, really. I mean, Marquez Stevenson, remember, I mean, he only played in one game against the Saints, and he struggled at a little bit there, but this guy's got some game-breaking speed, first off. Yeah. And that could have maybe helped a little bit yesterday based on the conditions and whatnot, even on a gadget play like a reverse or a jet sweep or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
And even so with Isaiah McKenzie, no, none of it. And even with Isaiah McKenzie, I mean, that's kind of what he's known for, that, the motions pre-snap and, sometimes he'll take the ball. Sometimes it's just a fake handoff or, even a short, drag route or whatever it may be. So yeah, I didn't like the move necessarily, but I was okay with it. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. And I think maybe, hindsight 2020 here, it would have been beneficial to have one of those guys active.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I have three guys going to be running laps. One's a player and two are coaches. Obviously, the two coaches, you know what I'm going to say. The player
Oh yeah.
is Edmonds, Jermaine Edmonds. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Jake. This is a linebacker, and this is a middle linebacker, and maybe it's because I have such high expectations for this guy, being that his size, his height, his weight, his speed, and his wingspan. This guy should be dominating the field. Taking me back, I remember guys that were greats, like Ray Lewis, right? Of course, I can't compare him to Ray Lewis, but he's bigger than what Ray Lewis was, and he was faster than what Ray Lewis was. But Ray Lewis had those instincts. Let's talk about another guy who doesn't have the athleticism, who was just a great guy at making tackles in the backfield, Chris Spielman.
There you go.
A great linebacker. Not even close to the athleticism that Edmonds brings to the game, but instincts. And I know you just can't teach that. And you're right. Maybe he's just not a natural at the middle. And that's the reason why I got him running laps, because I just have high expectations for a guy with that athleticism. I mean, he should just be dominating these games.
I agree. And I'll say this. So I will say this on Jermaine Edmonds. I think he's more built to be a middle linebacker in the modern day NFL. The Patriots took it back 20 years yesterday. I mean, they weren't running anything crazy. It was basic, vanilla, I formation. I mean, as basic as it gets, hat on a hat football. And I don't know if that's the type of game that Jermaine Edmonds is built for. So like guys like Ray Lewis, those run stopping inside linebackers, although you could say Ray Lewis had 6 interceptions one year, I think 2003 when he was Defensive Player of the Year. So that's besides the point. London Fletcher, guys like that, guys that are shorter stature, a little stockier guys that, want to get in the middle and take on those blocks and, fill the gap and use their instincts more so because they have to make up for the lack of athleticism. I think Jermaine is in a very different position where he is used for this modern day NFL that involves more passing, more, over the middle type plays where he can utilize his size, his height, and whatnot to kind of disrupt the play a little bit. He is not built for your traditional I formation running the football. You have to have someone else in there because it was no more evident than last night. He just struggled completely in that. So, I mean, definitely, he had a really bad game nonetheless, but I just wanted to make that comment at least.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Defend his honor a little bit.
And another guy that comes to mind is Brian Urlacher. He, strong, fast guy.
Big guy too, actually, 6'4".
Yeah, very similar to the build of Edmonds. And the guy's been with us, it's been 4 years, 3 years now? He's in his third year, fourth year? I don't quite remember. Do you know what it is?
He came in 2019, 2018, so fourth year.
I think he was he the year before, Josh?
Year after, I want to say.
Okay, so it's a few years in. I mean, he's had some time, and I just haven't seen the improvement. So anyhow, he's running some laps for me today. And also, obviously, McDermott. I think McDermott not going for 2 right off the bat set the tone right there, not having the confidence in his team, making stupid call with the challenge on Mac Jones. So McDermott, and then obviously Dable, known as Label today, Brian Label in the channels today. And the reason for Brian Dable is, look, man, I'll tell you what, he got the ball down the field, right? There were some great drives in the wind, which is amazing. And a lot of that was because of Josh's arm. But when you get inside the 20, where's the creativity? Why can't
we just laid down?
What happens inside the 20? What stops? There's no creativity there. So Brian's running some laps. So
he's running laps.
Get out there, guys. I want you running in the weather right now. Get out there in that cold winter weather, and I want you to run some laps for me. I'll tell you when you're done.
I like that.
All right, guys. I know we've been talking a lot about this post game, but we're an hour into our show, so it's more of a preview for the Bucks. We don't have all the information. We don't have injuries. It's too early to even bring up an injury report. It's too early to talk about the weather. Obviously, it's in Florida, so weather conditions should be good, which should be good for us as well. But let's see if we can get through some things rather quickly here. Jake, I know everyone's pretty busy tonight and we're running a little long, but I think it's important.
Oh, it's okay.
I think it's important. So let's go.
Yes.
So anytime we see a new team, I always bring up some numbers, some informations about that team. So about the Buccaneers, the GOAT continues to play at a high level. And The way he's playing right now, I mean, to me, he's going to win another MVP. I just believe that that's going to happen. On the defensive side of things, they're tied for 16th in points per game, which is 22.5. They're 10th in yards per game, giving up 332. They're 20th in passing yards per game, 248, which you mentioned earlier in the show. That to me is where we're going to probably have to take advantage of things as long as Josh can get some time, because
that's right.
They are tied for 4th in sacks on the year, 32. They're 4th in takeaways, 23. So another team like the Bills, another team like New England, another team like Indy, they take the ball away. They're tied for number 1 against the rush. So they're only giving up 84.3 yards. So we're not running the ball. We don't run the ball now. We should not even think about it. Stop running the ball up the gut. Just don't run it. Let's go. It's going to have to be an air attack on both sides of the ball. To me, I do believe if I was a betting man, I'm going to be betting the over on this game all day.
I like it.
On the offensive side, they're second in overall total yards per game, 403 yards a game. They're only second to the Cowboys. They're 25th overall in rushing yards per game, so you obviously know where most of those yards are coming from. Brady's putting up big numbers. They're first overall in passing yards per game, 311 per game. First in points per game, 31. So he put up a lot of points. And we didn't even talk about this. So Dane Jackson gets his first start. Actually, not his first start. I think he played last year when he was filling in for some injuries.
Right.
But got his first start filling in for Trey White after the injury. Really didn't have to do anything in this game.
Yeah.
And now he's certainly going to be tested. It would have been nice for him to kind of break in with against a team that threw the ball a little bit. And we know the Patriots can throw the ball, and they will throw the ball in the right conditions. But he didn't have a chance to deal with that at all. And now you're going against possibly, maybe other than Dallas, the most potent offense in the league. That used to be us. We used to say that. I can't say that right now. So they're going against the most potent offense in the league today. And Dane Jackson's going to have his hands full. Chris Godwin over there, and you got Mike Evans, and you got Gronk. Oh, man, we got lots to talk about. But
Chris Godwin's coming off like a 15-catch game or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
And
Yikes.
then they had Antonio Brown, who was doing great. He had an ankle injury, and then he got into some COVID issues and was suspended for violating something. I don't know all the details. I do know
supposedly he faked his vaccine card or something that.
Oh gosh, and I do know this. He's hurt my fantasy football team because I had him, and I was like, man,
he was killing it.
I found the sleeper of the year, Antonio Brown, having a great year. But anyhow, you can see from this slide right here, this is no joke. We go right from one good team to a team that's even better. You got to give the Buccaneers the GOAT. They're the Super Bowl defending champions, and they're putting up some amazing numbers. And you can see the only place we're going to be able to probably take advantage is throwing the ball, but will Josh have enough time? This team can put the heat on the quarterback. So that's going to be anything you want to say about the Bucs before we move into the key matchups.
So it's going to be a total. So I'm not going to say it's going to be a totally different game. It's going to be a different type of game plan that we need to scheme up, I guess, for this type of team. Although now they really are starting to find their balance between running the ball and passing the ball, and they're still putting up numbers in the passing game. Now they just have Leonard Fournette, Lombardi Lenny, just absolutely killing it now. So fantasy cheat code the last few weeks, pretty much. So little concerned.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't do well against premier running backs.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to see what the Patriots did. They're going to see what Indy did, and they'll throw a few runs in there. But their go-tos the passing game.
Oh yeah,
and they're going to challenge our Dane Jackson out there and Levi Wallace. I mean, they're going to be like, look, no Trey. Let's take advantage of it. So we're going to see going to be a huge.
I think the biggest thing is the size difference too. You look at Gronk, who's a physical freak of nature, Mike Evans, who's huge, and even Chris Godwin. I mean, he's a bigger guy, Yeah. So they got some big body guys. Yeah. And we can really get exploited by this receiving core as a whole. So I am a little worried. Don't get me wrong.
We have these in our key matchups. So I'm going to ask you who you think is going to be watching who's guarding these guys. So let's get into our key matchups. Let's start with yours. You got the Bucs receiving core versus the Bills secondary, and we were just saying that, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about who do you think Levi? You think Levi Wallace stays on his side, or is, I mean, in this offense, there's no 1 and 2. I think they're both ones. So
Yeah.
pick your poison in this case. I mean, who's
I know.
Wallace going to take, and who's Dane Jackson going to take? And then obviously, we got Taron Johnson, who's going to pick up whoever in the slot.
And that's interesting because Chris Godwin sort of plays all over the place. He could play outside. He could play in the slot. He does a lot of work from the slot, and that's where he gets a lot of his catches, actually. So it is intriguing, and I think all of our corners are going to get a taste of each of those receivers. So I think the biggest matchup difference between these guys is obviously the size and really the skill. I mean, you're playing against essentially 2 Pro Bowl receivers, and then you have a Hall of Fame tight end that you're going against who's still playing at a high level and is a red zone threat. So, I am certainly worried. It's going to be a huge test for our secondary, and this is going to be the first game that we see what it's like without Trey White. So this is going to be the game that kind of determines whether or not we're okay with the depth that we have at corner, or if we need to really consider drafting one in the first round next year.
Yeah, totally agree. So big matchup there. And then you got Shaq Barrett versus Deon Dawkins.
Yeah, Shaq Barrett is unbelievable. I mean, he's a great pass rushing outside linebacker. The guy's got 7.5 sacks this year. He's leading the team. He just makes plays at the most opportune times. He finds a way to strip the ball. 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, 19.5 sacks. Should have been up for Defensive Player of the Year, but lost out to it. He's a freak of nature, and we've struggled notoriously against these pass rushing outside linebackers. Matt Judon had a really nice game yesterday. Harold Landry destroyed us. TJ Watt killed us early in the year. So yeah, that's the one to watch right there. Yesterday, I think Josh actually had some time to throw the ball.
I thought so too,
which was encouraging.
Yeah.
But now we have like Shaq Barrett, who's really set himself apart, and not just him, but Ndamukong Suh. You got other defensive linemen on that team who are just unbelievable. So that, I mean, what are they? What did you say they were in sacks this year? Fourth or something like that in total sacks. Yep. Yeah. So they kind of spread the wealth on that D-line. And I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul is still on that team too.
That's crazy.
They got William Golston, Vita Vey, who's a very good nose tackle. That guy's a stud too. He honestly, I'd rather substitute him out for Star. I wish we had Vita Vey.
Don't steal my impact player, man.
Oh, there we go. I'll let you talk more about him.
I have him on there. But yeah, so totally agree with these. We definitely have struggled all year against really good edge rushing linebackers, and this guy's gonna just
Shaq Barrett.
They have because they play a 3-4, I believe.
They do.
I looked at their depth chart and they play a 3-4. So they got a lot of like you said, they got a lot of vets on that defensive side, and I'm very concerned about those athletic linebackers that they have.
Yep. And then you got to remember they have Levante David too in the middle, and Devin White.
Yeah.
I mean, they have arguably the best linebacking core.
Those are the guys. Yeah, those are the kind of guys I'm thinking about. So let me talk about I kind of flipped it because I think we're gonna go Bills receiving core versus the Bucs secondary, because this is really where we're gonna win it, right? If we're gonna have a shot at all, we're gonna be throwing the ball and we're gonna be having to score a ton of points. Now, obviously, they're ranked 20th against the pass. That's where we're going to be able to take advantage. We're not going to run on this team. Forget it. We'll throw a few in there, but it's all going to be throwing the ball in the air. So give me a sec here. I'm just fixing a few things. All right. And then my other one, Mitch Morse versus Vita Vey. All right. Mitch had a little bit of trouble with Godshaw, and there was another guy, and the announcers even mentioned it yesterday. But
yes, he had a sack yesterday too. He was able to. Christian Barmore, their rookie defensive tackle, he was a second-round pick. That guy played lights out yesterday too. What a game for him!
So Morse had his hands full. This Vita Vey is a beast. I think I saw him earlier in the year on one of the primetime games, and I'm like, can you imagine going up against this guy for an entire game?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I can't imagine it.
I bet you Mitch, I mean, he wishes he could raise his hand and say, sub me out for just a few. I need a break here. This is going to be a huge test. This guy is going to bring some pressure up the middle, which will definitely can blow up everything and make it so difficult. So having success there is going to help us tremendously. So yes, I saw Vita Vea earlier in the year. I'm like, how does anyone go against this guy? How does anyone play
He's good.
against this
He's
guy?
got sneaky athleticism too.
Oh
I mean, he's a
my
big guy. He's a
God.
nose tackle, but this guy is, man, he
He's like
just finds a
6'4",
way.
347.
Monster.
And he just
That's exactly what you want as a nose tackle. You know,
yeah, this is like
reminds me of Ted Washington, Mike.
or old Freddie Smirlis. You remember Freddie Smirlis of the Bills? He wasn't quite this big and athletic, but my goodness, that was back.
You know what I love about Vita Vea too? Nothing fancy about the guy. Doesn't wear any gloves, nothing, no wristbands, nothing like that. Just nothing, just bare. So he just goes out there and he plays football. He's a football player. I love that.
Crazy. All right, let's get into our impact players. So for you, obviously our boy Stephon Diggs, Taron Johnson, throwing Taron out there because you're right. He's going to be part of that nickel defense trying to defend these amazing receivers. And then Micah Hyde. And did you throw Micah in there because is he going to have to defend Gronk or help with Gronk? Or
I think so. I think he's going to have to come down a little bit, help in coverage a little bit, or he'll stay back and be kind of like that, he'll just play and stay disciplined and be the safety help essentially. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with both him and Jordan Poyer. I put Micah in there essentially because I was hoping that he'd get an interception, and I wear his jersey every week. And after yesterday, I think it's time for a little bit of redemption. And I don't think he played a bad game. I don't think him and Jordan Poyer even played a bad game yesterday. I mean, it's hard to be involved as a DB. I mean, you're just playing the run game more or less. But we struggled tackling. We definitely did. So I think he's going to make a statement, and Micah Hyde seems to find his way around the ball, whether it's a tip drill or something like that. So I think he's going to have a big day on Sunday. I really feel good about that. As far as, I guess I sort of went out of order here, but Stephon Diggs, I mean, you got to attack their corners. They have Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy-Bunting. And I think both of those guys, I mean, neither of them can cover Stephon Diggs. So just attack him, throw the ball to him. The weather should not be an issue. Even if it's rainy, just feed the guy. I mean, make it a point. This guy needs to have 100 yards or more. It needs to be a big day for him because that's the only way we're winning this ball game on Sunday. I hate to say it. So yeah, 100%. That's our number one impact player on Sunday. So pretty excited for that. Yeah. And then Taron Johnson. Yeah. I mean, you have Gronk who, just a huge target. He's still playing really good football and, great fantasy option too. I got him on my one team, Mike. He's scoring touchdowns left and right still.
Yeah.
That's going to be a challenge for him, whether it's Chris Godwin, whether it's Gronk. This is where he's going to show what that contract's worth. I mean, he's going to show his worth and why we paid him. So really excited to see it.
And it was pretty easy finding impact players from Tampa, right? I mean, it's just like down the board. You could pick anybody, but you go big. Jake, when you go big, you go big, and this is about as big as it gets.
I had to go big on this because I just felt like, I know maybe you almost didn't want to mention because everyone talks about Tom Brady and how he's an MVP candidate and stuff like that. So I'm going to add a little more to it and just say how good this guy's done at age 43 or 44 now, is it maybe? Absolutely killing it. 34 touchdowns this year, leads the league in passing yards. Certainly probably the number one MVP candidate right now. Him and Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, don't sleep on him either. He's got 16 touchdowns already. But yeah, Tom, what he's done right now is just incredible. And the release that he has and the fact that we played New England yesterday and now we have to go back and play Tampa at Tampa.
Yeah.
That's tough, and is this some sort of big sick joke? I don't know. Maybe the scheduling gods had something, up their sleeve. Maybe they wanted to either put us in a position where we lose 2 back-to-back games or I don't know, whatever it is. I hope we don't lose to Belichick and Brady in the same week because that would just be horrendous. Monday night and then capping it off on a Sunday like that. That's just brutal. But, yeah, obviously Tom Brady is that's the guy who drives that whole team, so had to put him on the list. And then you have Lombardi Lenny, who's been absolutely killing it. Playoff Lenny turned into Lombardi Lenny last year in the playoffs. Overtook the role from Ronald Jones. They barely use Rojo anymore, which is kind of sad because I had a lot of faith in that guy. He was a 900-plus back rusher, a year ago, or 2 years ago. So, I mean, and the thing is, too, he can hurt you in the pass game. He's one of those bigger backs, too. He's kind of built like Derrick Henry. He's a bigger guy. I think he's 230 something pounds. The guy's second on the team in catches. He's got 58 catches this year. He's got 9 total touchdowns. He's very balanced. So he can hurt you on both sides of the ball, whether it's running the football or passing the ball. So absolutely got to look out for him. We notoriously struggle against these premier running backs. So I look for him to have a big day, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong on this, but yeah, I mean, he's certainly an impact guy for them. And then Gronk, of course. I mean, how could you not mention Gronk? The guy's just a freak of nature, Hall of Fame tight end, still playing at an elite level. And he always kind of kills the Bills. Yeah. So hometown team.
He has ties to Buffalo, doesn't he? So
he does, yes.
All right. So, yeah, he likes to put on a show against the Bills, and this is going to be no different.
Yep.
So, oh, boy. It's giving me nightmares already.
I know, oh, boy.
All right, let me get over to my impact players here, and then we can wrap this thing up. And I appreciate everyone who's in the channel. If you're still with us, please drop a nickel on that subscribe button for us. Give us a like, give us a share, and make sure you get into that giveaway. The link is in the description for that $500 gift card. You don't want to miss out on that. It's a great opportunity.
Awesome.
Just tell us one of your favorite memories, one of your favorite holiday memories, and get into this contest here. All right, for me, Josh Allen, obviously. You went with Brady. I'm throwing Josh because it's going to be stud against stud. And let's see what Josh can do. And finally, hopefully, a nice weather game. Let me see if I can fix that here. Getting a lot of issues with your video.
Oh, is that the fan? Tonight. Hold on 1 second.
No, I don't know what it is. It's not the fan. No, it's video or whatever.
Oh, is it video?
Yeah. So I think it's just we're stressing out the internet tonight. Go a little long on the Nickel City Mafia. But anyhow, yeah, Josh Allen, this is the only way we're going to win. Josh has got to have his best game of the year, I believe, has to happen in order for us to have a chance at winning this. Singletary, going back to my man Singletary. He is the guy. Give him the ball. Let him have 70% of the snaps. Let's see how that works out. To this point, we've never tried this year having someone be that primary back, having someone get 60, 70% of the snaps. Let's have him in there. And then, give him a few breaks once in a while. But let's see what he can do. And then Rousseau, I had Rousseau as an impact player last week. Obviously, they only threw the ball 3 times, so he really didn't have a chance to be that impact player. They're going to throw the ball a lot. He's going to have to be an impact player, again, for them to have a chance. Because if they're not putting pressure on Brady, he's going to pick us apart, especially with Dane Jackson and being so young and inexperienced there. I just think that'll happen. So we got to put some heat on Brady. Rousseau's got to be that guy. He's got to have a game like he did with KC. We got to see that Rousseau. And again, that's why I'm using him back-to-back weeks. On the Buccaneers, I didn't hold back either. I'm like just going down the list here. It's pretty easy to pick impact players. You got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. We've already talked about them. Stud wide receivers. Going to be what a challenge. And again, we talked about this. How do you help the secondary out? Get more pressure. We're going to have Hyde and Poyer help out, and Taron Johnson's going to have an amazing game as well. So we'll have to see how that pans out. And then
Mike Evans, shout out to that guy. I mean, 7 straight 1,000-yard seasons. The amount of consistency that guy has is incredible. He's got 10 touchdowns again this year too. He's on pace for a 1,000-yard season. So that guy's incredible. He's on his way to a Hall of Fame career. So
got off to a slow start, but yeah,
he did. But I think he's back. He had 99 yards last week. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then Damakun Su, I always say his name wrong. He's a veteran, been around a long time, having a great, another great year with the Bucks, and he's a force. He is a force. They got a couple we already talked about Vita Vea, and now you got Sue. Oh my goodness! I mean, our offensive line struggled already, and these two guys are gonna make it difficult. They're gonna free up these linebackers, and give them the ability to make plays. So those are my impact players. And that kind of does it for our show. We're at that point in the show where we give some predictions. So again, please, if you're out there still in the channel, let me see, is anyone there? Everybody's kind of getting ready to go to bed. Everybody's going to bed.
The Patriots
yeah, they're going to bed on the East Coast, and on the West Coast here, it's like dinner time. So if you're out there and if you watch this show now or later, give us your prediction. We do. If anyone hits the score, we give away a $50 gift card to Amazon. And sometimes we even give it to you if you're just close. And we've done that once before when Stubby won it for us. he was actually the closest guy. It's a holiday season. We like to give back on this channel, so put out your prediction. Jake, I'm going to go to you first. Give me that prediction, man.
I hate this, Mike, because I'm not optimistic. This is the first time I almost feel like I have to go against the Bills with my pick. And maybe this is going to be like some reverse psychology, and maybe it turns out where we win. I think, end of the day, I think we're going to come out better offensively, but I just can't see us beating this Buccaneers team. They're just too damn good. They have way too many weapons, and we just fall to these types of, the personnel itself is just not good across the board. So I just don't feel great about this. I think the Bucs win 34-28. It's going to be close, but I think the Bucs prevail. 34-28 Bucs. I'll put it in the chat right now.
All right, put that in there. Yeah, you're close to what my prediction was. When you got the GOAT, the greatest of all time, a guy who has dominated our division and pretty much handled us, I don't want to say easily. There's been a lot of close games between the Bills and Brady, but they pretty much had their way with us when he was on that team. And I mean, he's going to be fired up. He probably owns part of Buffalo, I think. I mean, he probably has some stake in Buffalo. I don't know. He's just done so well. And he and Gronk are going to be fired up, of course, playing against a team that they're so familiar with. And with all the other weapons and that great defense that they have, it's hard for me to say this as well. But earlier in the season, when I made my predictions, and I've been wrong on a lot of predictions. I had this as a loss, and I'm going to stick with that. And I'm going to say you're right. I think I'm betting the over on this game. I'm not a bettor, but if I did, we have a couple guys on the show who love to bet. I'm going to bet the over on this. This is going to be a high-scoring game. 35-31. Wow. Buccaneers win it. And I think it's a close game, but the Buccaneers will eventually win. When you have the greatest of all time, he's going to find a way. So 35-31. Let me put my score in there so I remember.
A couple other notes with this game. So Tom Brady did say that this was the toughest game on the Buccaneers schedule, which is very interesting. Now, we did say this before the Pats game, so if you watched any of that game last night, he may have changed his mind a little bit. It is very interesting. And then there's some more Bills ties in this game too, Mike. So Antoine Winfield Jr., the Buccaneers safety, is Antoine Winfield Sr.'s son, who played with the Bills in the early 2000s. So actually one of my favorite corners to play with Buffalo, very physical guy, great tackler, good coverage guy. Now his son's playing with the Bucs, and Tom Brady played with both his dad and him now, which is pretty wild.
That is crazy. It's gonna be interesting. Is it the 1:00 game or the 4:00 game?
It's a 4:25 game. So it's gonna be, well, for you it'd be what, 1:25?
Yeah, 1:25 for us out here.
Yeah.
Are you guys back in town that day? Are you gonna be back in time to watch the game?
We're gonna be back just in time for kickoff, I think.
Oh wow.
So I think our flight lands at like 4:20 something. So it's gonna be close.
It's gonna be close.
I'll be rushing. I'll have my wife drive. I'll have it on my phone or something.
There you go. Have it up there. Well, again, thank you, everyone. I mean, we ran a little long today, but we want to get both shows in there. And I almost forgot one of the most important things, and I'm sorry to make people wait this long. It is the bonus code, yes. And I'm probably going to make this easy for folks because we made them wait so long. I'm going to put this in the comments, and we're going to give you 2. We are going to give you 2. So Here's the first one. Rudolph Red. Rudolph Red. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So RUDOLPH and Red, all one word. Take that, put it into the app, and get your 5 additional entries. And then something simple. Snowman. 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 Take both those entries, and you're going to get, 10 different. Take both those bonus codes, and you're going to get 10 additional entries. So have fun. Get into the giveaway. Thank you so much for all you guys out there on the channel supporting us. We appreciate it. The channel's growing like crazy. We couldn't be happier. So appreciate you. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's get back. It's going to be a tough one. But I'm not giving up on this team, Jake. I'm not giving up on this team. Whether we don't win the division, whether we're not the first seed, we still have a very good shot at the division. But we still have a great shot at making the playoffs as a wild card team. So, and if we get in the wild card, nobody's going to want to play us. We're always going to be that team that could do something special. So let's not give up on them. I know you're not, Jake. I know you're not for sure.
I'm not.
Right.
I hope we're scratching our heads next Sunday or whenever we do the pregame, Mike, and we're just thinking, do we know anything about the NFL? Because maybe the Bills get a big win.
Maybe this is the time
Best
finally. And we've seen it all this year, not only with Buffalo. We've seen it with the Chargers. We've seen it with the Ravens. Look at the Dolphins all of a sudden. Oh, my goodness, on a roll. Any given Sunday means more this year than it ever has. Any team can beat any team this year. We've seen it. So let's hope that happens. And let's hope, because you and I are going against the grain this time, that we're completely wrong once again. I want to be wrong here.
So.
All right, everybody. Have a great one. Take care now. Bye.
All right. Go Bills.